afternoon, Nick.
It's very official. Good afternoon.
So we wanted to do the podcast basically to firstly introduce all the teachers and just so that everyone that comes to Grow or is thinking about coming to Grow can get to know you guys and learn a bit more about your classes and what to expect from your classes.
Yeah.
So to start with, if we could just briefly touch on like how you got into fitness, how you got into personal training, and what brought you to where you are today.
I guess because I grew up as a competitive dancer and then went into a career as a professional performer, keeping fit and being active was kind of all I knew.
Yeah.
And when I was training to be a performer at the Performing Arts Institute that I went to, we were doing easy, probably about 5 or 6 hours of dancing a day.
Wow.
So our schedule was really full on. And when I graduated college, you kind of get into this weird place of nomad's land of being extremely active and probably being at the peak of your fitness that you will ever be in your life because you're like late teens, early 20s. And then you're still trying to maintain that fitness level because when you go to auditions, you want to make sure that you're still where you are when you graduated, but you don't have access to 6 hours of a dance class a day unless you pay for it. So I kind of fell naturally into going to the gym as a way of keeping up my fitness levels when I was freshly graduated. So like 23, I think I was, 21 to 23.
So you're doing all of that training from like what, 15, 16?
Well, I was growing up because I was a competitive dancer. I was going to dance class every night after school and then had a comp of a weekend. So I was already that kind of mindset of that's just what I do. That's what my body does, and my body responded well to that. And I always got sick when I didn't work out because my body didn't know how to rest because I was just constantly always active. So I fell into the gym when I'd graduated from college, and it kind of became, because the performance industry is so intense, especially mentally, it is obviously intense physically, but more so mentally, the gym kind of became my solace, like my place where I'd go to kind of get out of my head, stop thinking about auditions, stop thinking about the stress of performing, and just move my body because it always felt so good for me. So it kind of became my secondary passion, and then because I got into it and I was really passionate about it, I was then always that friend in all of my friend circles and friend groups that people would come to for advice, like, you know, Megan, how do I do this? How do I do that? Like, what do you do? And I was just like, oh, this is weird. This is kind of naturally becoming something.
You enjoy it as well. So you enjoy kind of like giving them advice.
Yeah, and I did. Yeah, I enjoyed being that for people. And then, so I decided once I'd done about 6 years of professional performing, I'd kind of done loads of traveling, really enjoyed it, but the mental aspect of it was starting to really take its toll. And then, you know, I was seeing people who were way later into their 30s who were still doing it and still going through the grind and not settled down, still single, still alone. And I was just like, I just don't know whether that's what my life is going to be like anymore. So then I was trying to think of other things that I could potentially go into, because performing was all I'd known from like the age of 3, and I was just like, this is going to be a big decision to walk away from it, so I need to know what I'm going into is going to be just as fulfilling for me as what performing was. So that's how I kind of fell into then thinking, well, fitness has always been a passion, I've always enjoyed giving people advice with it, maybe that's just what I go into. So then I got my personal training qualification, and then everything else just kind of fell into place. I decided that if I taught classes, I never wanted to teach classes that just for the sake of it. I wanted them to be fulfilling for me and for people. So that's why I kind of now specialise in classes that are a hybrid between dance and fitness, because it keeps that love of dance that I've always had still in my life, but obviously not as intense as going to like actual dance class for me every week. But it also gives people who don't dance or have never danced or have never thought of dancing kind of like an intro or, you know, an insight into the benefits of that type of movement as well. Because, you know, I've obviously had the chance to look at like a dancer's body compared to like an athlete's body, and for me a dancer's body can sometimes be 10 times stronger, not necessarily because they don't lift weight, but they can utilize their own body weight in ways that an athlete would never be able to. Like some of them, the best people I've ever seen on stage are ballet dancers, and you look at how a ballet dancer moves, and I mean, it's intense. Incredible, and it's insane watching it, and the power they've got in their own body is insane. So that was kind of like a definite drive. If I was going to bring something to fitness, I wanted to make sure that it was a hybrid of what I did and then what I do now. So yeah, that's kind of how I fell into it.
That's awesome. And so give us a little explanation about your sculpt class, or like how you have kind of brought that together in your sculpt class, and if someone was totally new, what they would expect coming into that class. Yeah,
so I'd definitely say it's not to be underestimated. I think when you say
I know that
it's a bar type Pilates style class, people kind of automatically think it's going to be an easy class. And obviously it's a lot different from doing something like lifting weights or a high intensity cardio circuit based class, because you utilize your own body weight most of the time. There is some minimal equipment, but it's only really to get engagement and feedback from your body in ways that you wouldn't if you were holding a weight. So it's mainly body weight. It's never high load, it's never low rep, it's always high rep, repetition, pulse, and it's basically just making the muscle endurance of your body work to its max capacity. So that's where the hard element of it comes in, because people don't really train like that on a regular basis, and there's nothing in day-to-day life that replicates it. So people come and they feel that sensation of the muscles really burning, and it kind of freaks them out, and then they're like, what is this? What is this madness? But yeah, so it's kind of a hybrid between Pilates, bar, yoga, and ballet. So it's an element of all of the good things of all of them. So it's mainly centering around spinal health and your internal muscular wall around your spine. So it really helps to improve posture. It really helps to improve your deep core tissue, your pelvic floor health. And for women, I mean, that's massively important. It is just as good for men as well, because obviously men need to work on their pelvic floor. Most men don't know that they have one. So yeah, it's basically really good for strengthening the internal line of your body, and also helping the strength of your joints and the mobility of your joints as well. So for people who are really avid weight training, fitness based like regulars, it's a great way to complement that style of training, because it can help really mobilize the joints, so that when you go into lifting weights, you have a lot more stability and mobility around the joint. But for people who are beginners to exercise or new to exercise, it's a nice transition from really low grade fitness like yoga, where you're focusing on flexibility, into the more higher intense stuff as well. So it's a good one for all people to utilize. So
you can kind of combine that with, like you're saying, with strength training, or if you're into running, it will just do it all together, or just do it solely on its own.
100%.
So what would you say to someone that's kind of on the fence, a little bit nervous to come to one of your classes or any of the classes at Grow? What advice would you give them?
Do it, firstly. Don't do it. But from someone who's obviously went from performing into PT in the budget chain setup, so going to I worked at Anytime, I worked at JD Fitness, I've worked at big chain gyms where the gym floor is massive, the footfall is massive, the clientele is massive, and it's a massively intimidating space, especially for people who are new to fitness, or women who have zero confidence in themselves, or men who have zero confidence in themselves, or people who are just uneducated about fitness. Whereas Grow is the first place I've ever worked, but I've ever been to as someone who's regularly goes to the classes as well, where there's a real big sense of community, and community that's not just a community because there's people in the classes and you kind of get that group PT feel, rather than like an intense, intimidating, competitive class setup. but also because the fitness abilities and the fitness levels of everyone in the classes can be so varied that you might have people who are brand new to fitness and people who are seasoned professionals and come in every day, but the support from the people in the classes is massive. The support from the team is massive. Everyone just wants you to become the best that you can be.
Yeah, totally.
And that sometimes that doesn't feel the case in other gym setups. So if you're intimidated by normal gym chains and you're wanting to improve your confidence, then definitely there's no reason that I would say not to come here. Yeah.
I definitely think that like we say about everybody, the sense of community and how everybody supports each other. So like even new people coming in, you see all the people that have been coming for years, like go to that person to make them feel comfortable. Like I've never seen so everyone automatically feels comfortable coming in, and that's just because we just have lovely clients. We really do. Everyone's just so great and
100%.
supportive, which is just fantastic. What would you say, moving on to sort of more nutrition side of things, what would you say is the biggest misconception that you have heard about food when you're talking to your clients, like any advice that you can give?
I think the biggest two words that come to mind for me with nutrition that is often misled mainly by the government and the way food is mass produced in the country now is freedom and fear. We've been, or most people are made to fear certain food groups, like cut out carbs, fat is bad for you, only focus on protein, and you get all of these really weird fad diets that start to become available to people, and it confuses the hell out of everyone, even me. I would look at them and be like, what is that doing? And most people will then just are probably in a weight where they're underconfident, they don't really look at their nutrition at all, and then they'll try them without any education behind it.
So slightly vulnerable in the sense that you want to be healthier or fitter, or even you want to put on weight, you want to lose weight, and so you're in a position where you are slightly vulnerable, and then you just try these
100%
crazy diets basically is what they are by taking out a total food group.
100%, and the food groups are actually all there for a reason. They have been around since caveman times. You know what I mean? Like all the food groups have been there, and millions of different societies and cultures all utilize all of the food groups, all of the macronutrients. So firstly, don't cut anything out. Just become educated with what types of food groups should be consumed more so than others. So obviously we know if you work out, you need to have regular protein intake, but carbohydrates are also really important. So don't cut out bread, guys. Bread's the best.
That is actually the most commonly cut out food, I'd say. Totally just removing bread, or just carbs in general, I think. And
I think then in general it creates this fear that if you eat, you put on weight. It's just, if you eat anything, you put on weight. And you know, I think it's really the only thing that's come out into the kind of, not even media, but like into everyone's mindsets when it comes to nutrition at the moment is that really good calculation of energy in, energy out. So if you're working out a lot, you're going to need more food than the average person, and that kind of fears people, because people think, right, if I eat said amount of calories a day and then I work out loads, I'm going to lose weight. Yes, but that might become an actual negative, because you might be losing more weight than is actually healthy for you. So I think people not eating enough, cutting out food groups unnecessarily, and being led by, you know, misconceptions and fad diets are probably the biggest nutritional
100%
misconceptions.
Definitely agree. And what would you say to somebody, we get a lot when people kind of think, or they're starting to come into the classes, and they think that their weights are going to make them bulky. Going to make them really big. So, what would you say to somebody who was like, I don't want to get big?
I think that is not being stereotypical or, you know, against either gender, but that can sometimes be very much a female thing. Men generally would like to get bulky, but women, all I'd say is you'd have to be shifting a crap ton of weight and eating a crap ton of food to ever become even anywhere near bulky.
Yes.
I don't think the female form and the way that our hormones are set up as a female ever allow us to become bulky. You have to physically change your hormonal setup, your metabolic, how do you say that word? Metabolic. That like you have to physically want to change those elements of your own body to become a certain body shape. It's not easy for a woman to become bulky. Like, some of us train to try and get bulky, and sometimes it can take up to 5 years to get to that place that you want to.
It's so hard to gain muscle. It's so hard. And so it's just not going to happen in 4 weeks.
No, it's not going to happen. Not. If you're lifting a 5 kilo dumbbell in class and eating a normal diet, there's not a chance that you're going to get bulky. No.
So also tell me a little bit about your morning routine. So your routine, how you start your day, any practices that you do to set you up for the day, or even anything you do in the evening to help you wind down and help you sleep.
I would definitely say both of these things have definitely changed my life in the past probably 2 years, but maybe 1 year, because I've been really regimented with some things, and they've definitely had a massive effect on my mindset and my outlook, especially when I move into the day. So morning routine is massive for me. Sometimes because of work, my evening routine takes a nosedive, but mainly I can stay quite strict with my morning routine. So before I've even got out of bed, I wake up, really allow myself to wake up slowly. And then I'll always do, if I'm on a good day and I've not got to rush, I'll do 20-30 minutes if I can, but a 5-minute meditation. And like, sometimes that's led. Sometimes if I'm not feeling really grounded in myself, I'll put on a led meditation.
So would you use anything particular, like Headspace or Calm?
So I've done both of those. Headspace, I'd say, for somebody who's never done meditation before, is a really good starting place, because Andy Puddicombe is amazing, and his voice is the most amazing thing in the world. Calm is good as well, but sometimes, like, I've rave about her all the time, but Yoga with Adrian, she does some really good, just really short and precise meditations, and she's really good at guiding you through it, so you know where you are and what you're supposed to be doing, and she doesn't leave you to your own devices. So
also that's free and on YouTube,
and it's free, and it's cheap. That's why I do it, because you don't have to subscribe to anything. But if I'm in a really good headspace, like now, because I've been doing it so long, sometimes unguided ones are even better for me, because I get more out of them. And then again, I'll stay in bed and I'll journal. So I have two types of journal. I have a written journal, which is like a gratitude one in the morning, which prompts you with questions of some things like what makes you feel most free and all of that stuff, and it kind of gets you out of your head and into your heart, and you start feeling grateful for things before you've even left your bed. And then the different one is I have like a diary, an actual like written diary. So if I have like a really big emotive experience, like good or bad, I'll normally in the evening have like just a unset amount of time where I just get all of my thoughts about it out, and I find it easier to type it, because it normally comes out quite quickly. Rather than handwriting it. So I have those two types of things, but the gratitude journal is always in the morning. I try to drink a litre or a pint of water after that, and then I will get ready. So I have a really big skincare routine now, because I had really bad acne when I was in my 20s.
Skin is so good.
I had really bad cystic acne, which not many people know about, but it was massively debilitating to me. It's probably the most insecure I've ever been.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And it wasn't in my teens, it was in my 20s. So when you're kind of out of that early stages of really understanding what other people's thoughts are, and then you're into your 20s where you're so bothered about what everyone thinks about you, it was the worst. It was the worst
time.
So I have a really big skincare routine, and then I either work out after that, and then have breakfast, or I'll have breakfast and then work out after that. But that's generally, like, if I do all of those things in the morning, it's a good setup for me. And if I don't have a walkout, I'll walk instead somewhere.
So just some kind of Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Welcome. So your classes, so you're a sculpt at the moment, you've got two. That's Thursday at
10 past 10.
10 past 10, and then Saturday morning.
Yeah, that's 9:45.
9:45, perfect. And
Yeah.
hopefully we'll get some more of those on soon.
Yes.
Thank you very much today.
You're welcome.